Hi Booklovers, welcome back to my channel. It is the start of Historical Romance Readathon, so this is going to be my vlog. I don't think I'm going to have too many things going on, so I'm just going to be talking about the books that I'm reading this week, but it is day one. It's like our fourth or fifth time hosting Historical Romance Readathon. My co-hosts are, of course, my besties, Lisa from Remarkably Lisa and Jessica from Peace Love Books. I'm also really excited that this vlog is being sponsored. Ana Luisa is sponsoring my channel again. Ana Luisa is a jewelry company. They're a carbon neutral jewelry brand, and they sent me some more stuff that I'm really excited to share. The pieces came in this box and they each have their own little pouch. I'm currently wearing the ring that they sent me. It's their crossover ring called Jax. It's got gold plating and there are some pieces of jewels at the top. I'm also currently wearing some new earrings that they sent me. It's like a double hooped earring. It's called Toda. So it's one piece, but there are two hoops on it. And these last ones are the Huggy hoops. They're called Suzanne Medium. I think there is a smaller size of this if you really love your hoops to hug your earlobes, but I like mine to be a little bit bigger. I have been wearing them and loving them. They're super delicate and cute. I love the way they look, and they currently do have a sale going on for the holidays. It's buy one get one 60% off, so if you're still looking for some gifts for the holidays, you should definitely check them out, either for yourself or someone you love, especially for someone who loves like the classic looking kind of jewelry. I'll leave a link down below for you to check them out and check out their sale. A big thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring my channel and sponsoring this vlog. Back to the readathon. I've already started 2 historical romances today, one in audio and one on my Kindle. I know I'm probably not going to be reading as much this week just because I'm really busy, so I'm going to pack in as many audios and novellas as I can. I'm planning on reading A Wallflower Christmas by Lisa Kleypas, which is my current read right now. I borrowed the ebook from my library because I don't have time to read physical copies right now, but I am adoring this novella so much. It's part of the Wallflower series, book 4.5. We're getting Lillian and Daisy's older brother's romance, Rafe's romance, and it's so cute. And also we're revisiting all the wallflowers and I just love them so much. My other current read right now that I'm listening to in audio is Captured by Beverly Jenkins. This is one of the ones that is not winter, but I really wanted to get to it, and plus my audio was expiring. It's expiring in like 3 days, so I need to finish it so I can return it. I do own a physical copy though. I have the hardcover, which I will show you guys later because I don't have it with me right now. It's upstairs. Not too far into it right now, but it is set during slavery. The heroine is a slave. The hero, I believe, is from France. He's got like a bit of a French accent to him. He's a Levesque, one of the earlier generations, because Beverly Jenkins has like the whole Levesque family in her backlist. It is her pirate romance. The hero is a ship captain and he has just recently stolen / saved the heroine from her awful master. I'm excited to see how this goes. There's a lot of chemistry going on between these two. It feels pretty insta-lusty, though I will say a lot of Beverly Jenkins' earlier books are very insta-lusty to me. Insta-lovey, insta-lusty, but I don't mind that at all because you can very clearly tell how into the heroine the hero is. So those 2 are what I'm currently reading today, and hopefully I'll be able to finish them sometime soon. But that's it for this first part of the vlog. I need to go back to work and I'm just gonna try to read as much as I can. All my audios I listen to during work, so multitasking, but everything else I'm gonna have to just furiously read as fast as I can to get through all my novellas. I'll update you guys when I end up finishing a book, and also forgot to mention, currently wearing our readathon merch. It's the OG historical romance authors. Let me just show the whole thing. It's got Lisa Kleypas, Beverly Jenkins, Julia Quinn, Joanna Lindsay, Loretta Chase, Eloisa James, and Julie Garwood. I'll definitely leave a link down below if you want to check out our merch. There's a ton of different designs, all of course historical romance related. It is the end of day 1 of Historical Romance Readathon, and I am almost done with A Wallflower Christmas by Lisa Kleypas. This novella has been so freaking wonderful. I'm loving it. I mean, the romance is adorable, but the thing that I love most about this novella is just being able to revisit all the wallflowers. Like all 4 of them, they play a pretty big part in this novella. The premise of this one is about Rafe needing to find himself a wife because his dad has just he's given Rafe an ultimatum that in order to inherit his company, in order to like get whatever shares, Rafe needs a wife. Not that Rafe really needs the money, he has a ton of money on his own, but he really wants to be a part of his dad's company. So he's kind of come into an agreement with Hannah's cousin's family. That family is titled, her cousin is gorgeous, so she'll do. But of course, when Rafe meets Hannah for the first time, he is really intrigued by her, mainly because she is not intrigued by him. From the moment that she meets him, she knows that he is not at all right for her cousin. There's quite a lot of back and forth between Rafe and Hannah, which I really enjoy. I will say I've seen some reviews on Goodreads about this one, and I can totally understand people not liking it because Rafe is kind of wooing this other woman while he's falling in love with Hannah. But I mean, you know that he doesn't have feelings for Hannah's cousin. All of his feelings are very much exclusively for Hannah, and they're just really cute together. So I'm almost done with this one. I'll probably finish it before I go to sleep, but I'm also currently listening to Captured, which I mentioned earlier, and I finally got myself the hardcover. It is so beautiful, and this is what the back cover looks like. Look at that. This was my latest hardcover find from Beverly Jenkins, and it's in really great condition. I've been collecting all of her hardcovers. I think I'm pretty much almost done, at least with her old school historical romances, but I'm about halfway through Captured. It's been great so far. I really like her main characters. Claire's fantastic. I generally love Beverly Jenkins heroines because they're always so strong and stubborn. They're just great heroines and easy to relate to. Dominic is one of Beverly Jenkins' sensual heroes. He's another one of her rakes. She really loved to write about rakes in her early historical romances, but the thing about her rakes is that they're always so respectful. Like, they're good guy, nice guy rakes. I'm really liking the way these two are together, and right now these two are currently on Dominic's ship, and they're on their way to save Claire's two children. That's it for this first day of Historical Romance Readathon. I will be catching up tomorrow when I finish The Wallflower Christmas, and hopefully I'll finish Captured too. It's been a really great start so far because I am loving my first two reads, and hopefully this stays the same for the rest of my TBR. Hello, it's currently the end of day 2 of the readathon, and I finally finished my first two books, my novella and my audiobook. A Wallflower Christmas was so freaking great. I adored it. I'm giving it 4 stars. It was kind of the perfect wrap up to the Wallflower series. You get to revisit all 4 of our wallflowers who are all madly in love, and you just get to see them being worshipped by their husbands, and it is so wonderful. Rafe and Hannah were good, lots of good banter between these two. You can definitely feel the push and pull between them. Also, all the wallflowers are so freaking funny. They're adorable when they're all together because they're just up to no good. But the ending of this one had me laughing so much because, like, there's this secret from Hannah that they find out about, and then they're like, this is top secret, I can't tell anyone, and then they immediately tell the next wallflower that comes into the room. You can just feel the sisterly love between them, and they all kind of adopt Hannah into their fold. So this was a wonderful start to the readathon, and I highly recommend it if you enjoy the Wallflower series. And then the second book that I finished was Captured, my Beverly Jenkins book, and I'm also giving this one 4 stars. A very solid, good read from her. It's great if you love romances that take place out at sea on a ship, though the ones that I have read that take place out at sea tend to be a little bit like boring because there's nothing going on, but it wasn't the case here. I found myself really entertained throughout the book, even while they were at sea and just, you know, sailing. The romance was great. It is a little insta-lovey, but I think that's just usually how Beverly Jenkins' older books are, at least for me. You definitely felt the chemistry right from the start between Dominic and Claire, and I just loved how lusty Dominic was over Claire. It does get really intense in the second half when they're out trying to save Claire's children, her 2 children who are still enslaved. Even though I knew it had to end happily because Beverly Jenkins wouldn't do that to us, but I was still on the edge of my seat while I was reading all of it because I just had no idea what was going to happen, if they would be able to make it out okay. Hopefully no one would die. I really enjoyed the way that it played out, and I love how Beverly Jenkins always gives like like do justice to the bad guys in her books. The way that the bad guys endings play out is so satisfying. You're like, yes, thank God. So this was a great book, a really solid book. The audiobook was good, and I mean, it's not like a top favorite for me, but it is still really entertaining, and the romance is really sweet. And I also decided that I'm going to read another Lisa Kleypas book right after I finished A Wallflower Christmas, because I can't get enough of her. So I'm deciding to read I Will in this Christmas anthology. This is about a titled hero who's been kicked out of his father's will, so he's not about to get any money or anything from his father when he passes, and he is on his deathbed. And this is because this hero is kind of shitty. He is a drunk, he's a gambler, he is pretty much good for nothing. But in order to get back into his father's will, this hero needs to clean himself up, make himself presentable, and the best way to do so is by pretending to be courting and be engaged to the heroine. So it's fake dating, fake courtship. I'm really curious to see how Lisa Kleypas will redeem this hero, because I don't think I've ever read a hero like this from Lisa Kleypas, one that just sucks. But that's it for this day 2 update. Finished 2 books in 2 days, 1 full-length book, 1 novella, so it's a fairly good pace, I think. The novellas, these shorter books, are definitely helping. I'm just really glad that there are so many novellas when it comes to Christmas, winter, historical romances, because otherwise I definitely would not be able to read as much as I would. Hello, it is day 3 of the readathon. It is almost the end of the day. I took out my contacts and I'm about to wind down, but I do have some updates for you guys. I did manage to finish 2 novellas today. Well, I read 1.5 basically, because I started one yesterday. One that I read yesterday was I Will, which was part of the anthology that I talked about. It's Lisa Kleypas' novella in A Christmas to Remember. This one was interesting because of the whole hero being not such a great guy, at least in the beginning of the book. Andrew is not a great guy. He is Caroline's brother's friend, and he takes that brother out gambling and putting himself in debt. So I had a hard time rooting for this guy, but I was like, okay, let me just wait this out. Let me trust in Lisa Kleypas. And then the whole fake dating starts, and the whole transformation for Andrew's character happens off page. From the moment that Andrew and Caroline make this deal where Caroline will fake date Andrew and Andrew will stop putting Caroline's brother in all sorts of bad situations. That moment and the moment that they reunite so they can start this fake dating is completely skipped, and this is when Andrew's transformation happens. Like, he gets fit, he started exercising, I guess, in a couple weeks, and he just lost all that alcohol weight. He's hotter and more refined now, and yes, it is all pretty much to get back into that will in order to get his inheritance. But Andrew has also been getting more involved in his estate, being, you know, conscious about what's going on at his own home, so all of that happens off the page. We don't really get to see it, so that kind of sucked. And where Caroline used to hate Andrew, she's now really intrigued by him, and she's feeling all these things for him that she never thought she would feel, especially not for Andrew. The way that they fell in love felt super strange, just because it felt really all of a sudden, just like Andrew's transformation. The pacing for this novella wasn't the best. I'm giving this 3 stars because it was okay. Didn't love the romance, didn't love our main characters, but I am really curious to see if Lisa Kleypas does have another full-length book about the similar kind of hero, like an actual degenerate hero where I can't root for him, at least in the beginning of the book. That would be really interesting to read, not just from Lisa Kleypas. I would definitely read that, like, just in general. But yeah, this was my 3rd book. Sadly, not quite as good as my first 2. And I also managed to finish another novella today. I read A Kiss for Midwinter by Courtney Milan. This is a novella in her Brother Sinister series, book 1.5. Luckily, I did read book 1, so I'm not reading completely out of order. But this one reads fine as a standalone. It's about a doctor hero and the girl who hates him. So it's enemies to lovers, at least on the heroine's part. Jonas is kind of in love with Lydia, but he's never been able to show her because all he knows is that she hates him. These two have a bit of miscommunication involved because they both assume something about the other person, and this takes a while to get resolved. I like the concept of this romance. She hates him, but he's in love with her, but the way that it was executed, it wasn't really for me. The story was really slow, surprisingly, for a novella. There's not much going on until like halfway through the book. I was really sad that this novella dragged at times. It just got too much into Jonas's doctor stuff. It would get a little depressing and I just wasn't in the mood for that. I'm giving this one 3 stars. I didn't love our main characters. The romance was okay, so sadly, not a new favorite of this readathon. I have no idea what I'll read next, but I'll let you know when I choose my books. I also completely forgot to mention that we do have a buddy read for the readathon. It is Lady Sophia's Christmas Wish by Grace Burrows, and so far, people are not liking this book, so I'm feeling pretty bad that our group read isn't that great, and I'm currently pushing it off until the end of the week to finally read it. I borrowed the audiobook from my library, but after seeing a couple people's reviews for it, I'm feeling less and less excited about it. But that's it for today. I'll update you when I end up reading some more books. Hello, it is currently day 4 of the readathon, and I have already finished a novella. I'm actually really impressed with myself. I started it late last night and finished it during my lunch break. And also, look what I'm wearing. It's another one of our merch designs. This one's the Historical Romance Readathon with our names on it. The novella that I read was one of the 2 novellas in this wind-up by Jennifer Ashley and Mackenzie Clan Christmas. I read the first novella in this book, A Mackenzie Yuletide, and it was so cute. It's like 4 stars, 3.5 to 4 stars. We're back with the Mackenzies, or at least we're back with Ian Mackenzie, who is my favorite, although he's tied with Mac for me. And then we also get to meet Ian and Beth's kids, although I already met them when I read Jamie Mackenzie's book, The Sinful Ways of Jamie Mackenzie. And this novella is pretty much about Ian wanting to buy Beth this elaborate necklace, this really expensive, rare necklace for Hogmanay. It's a Scottish New Year's Eve holiday. There's also this mysterious ghost haunting the castle, and all the adults and the children are trying to figure out what it is, who it is. It was a really quick and easy read. I really enjoyed it. I was happy to be back with the Mackenzies, and I think I'm gonna stop here for now. I do want to get to the other novella in this book, but I'll save it for a little bit later because I want to read more of my other read, which is The Promise and a Kiss by Stephanie Lawrence. This one's got this step back. It's part of the Sinster series. It's actually the prequel, book 0.5, but I read it after reading book 1 already. And this couple, Helena and Sebastian, are actually the parents of the hero from Devil's Bride, so they are Devil's parents. Sebastian is a duke, Helena is this French heiress, and she needs to marry. She's actually specifically looking for the right man who will give her freedom, who will free her from her overbearing guardian and just give her the freedom to do whatever she wants. She definitely does not want another alpha male in her life, and Sebastian is 100% pure alpha male, so she's like, no, I will not have you. The beginning starts with Helena and Sebastian first meeting at this convent where Helena is. He literally falls at her feet and she ends up saving him from these nuns who are trying to find him. It is winter when they first meet. They end up kissing right before Sebastian leaves, and then they don't see each other again for like almost a decade, and when they reunite, it is winter again. But Sebastian, as soon as he sees Helena again, he is so determined to have her for his wife. He knows that she is it for him, and he will do everything he can to get her to fall in love with him and then say yes to his proposal. I am definitely getting a theme of this kind of hero from Stephanie Lawrence, and I am all for it. I love these alpha possessive kind of heroes who are just completely head over heels for their heroines. So I am loving the romance right now. I honestly see myself giving this 5 stars because it is so good. I love it just as much as Devil's Bride. I'm actually listening to this one in audio. It is a pretty long book, so I figured audiobook would be the fastest way to read it, but I am loving this narrator. His name is Simon Preble, and I'm pretty sure he narrates the entire series. He definitely narrated Devil's Bride, and he was just so good at it, but I will say I do have to slow down his narration because the accent is pretty, it's not too heavy, but I just want to be able to savor it, and he does have a deep voice, but it sounds really nice, so if you want to listen to the series in audio, highly recommend it. That's all the updates that I have for today. I am loving my current reads right now, so hopefully the rest of the readathon will be just as good. Welcome back. It's the end of day 5 of the readathon, and I've kind of finished a book, and by kind of I mean I finished half of this anthology. I read 2 of the 4 novellas in Mistletoe Christmas, basically the 2 ones that I was most interested in. They were not the first 2 novellas. I skipped around. I read the Christy Caldwell one and the Jana McGregor one, both of which are the second chance romances. The first one that I read was Wishing Under the Mistletoe, which is the Christy Caldwell one, and this one is the one where the main characters were formerly engaged and then the heroine broke it off because the hero was just too obsessed with his work and just didn't have time for her anymore. She didn't feel appreciated anymore, so she left him, and they haven't seen each other in like almost a decade. And now they reunite at the Duke's Christmas party. It's actually Isabel's grandfather's party. She's the granddaughter of a Duke. She's put in charge of the theater production of the Christmas party because she now has this background in theater. And her new partner is none other than her former fiance, Cyrus, who has grown into this very wealthy and powerful man that he always dreamed of being. They're quite a bit awkward during their first reunited meeting, and they don't really know what to do with each other, and Cyrus still is a little resentful over Isabel leaving him. They've got a lot of things to hash out, lots of unresolved feelings. It was an okay novella, didn't love it, didn't hate it. I definitely thought the ending was a little lacking and also a little weird because of what happened during the production, but I really wanted Cyrus to put in a little bit more effort into their second chance romance. He didn't really do that much, definitely not as much as Isabel did, so it was just 3 stars for me. And then the second novella that I read was the Jana McGregor one, which is called Compromise Under the Mistletoe. This one is the marriage in trouble novella. The main characters have been separated for a year now, pretty much a year to the date. The reason for the separation, why Caroline left Stephen, was because she just didn't feel appreciated anymore by her husband. He never talked to her, he never really showed any sort of care or thought about his wife. He even missed her birthday, like just completely forgot about it. So that was, you know, not the best thing. But now the 2 of them have to attend this Duke's Christmas party, the same Christmas party as the previous couple went to. This time I'm pretty sure Caroline is the Duke's niece, and the Duke is pretty much dying, and she needs to go to this party in order to show the Duke that she is in a very happy marriage with Stephen in order to get this inheritance. It's just a lot of money that she needs to help with the new life that she's built for herself without Stephen. So I guess this is kind of a second chance romance, marriage in trouble, and a fake marriage kind of romance, because Stephen and Caroline have to pretend to be this really happy couple even though they're not, and Stephen sees this as his last opportunity to win back his wife. I like this one slightly more than the last one. I'm giving it like 3.5 stars, like good but not great. I just really felt for the heroine here. The part where she told him that, you know, he completely forgot her birthday, he didn't really care about it, he never made any sort of fuss over her as much as he did over his work, over his estate. The romance itself definitely could have been more than it was. I did appreciate Stephen putting a lot of effort into the second chance. I just sadly didn't fall in love with her characters, though I do appreciate all the tropes, and there's also a whole stuck in a snowstorm scene, so that's another trope to add to this novella. I'm gonna stop here though with this anthology. Like, I heard someone say that the Eloisa James one wasn't that great, but yeah, I'm just gonna stop here and count this as 2 novellas read. I did also manage to finish my audio. I finished The Promise and a Kiss by Stephanie Lawrence. I loved it, but I'm giving it 4 stars. It could have really easily been 5 stars, but then I decided, much to my regret, I decided to look on Goodreads just to, you know, see what other people thought about it, and I just completely forgot about like this couple, what happened with this couple. Like I knew the main characters here were the parents of the hero from Devil's Bride. They're Devil's parents, but I completely forgot that Devil's dad cheated on his mom and had a bastard child with another woman. So it kind of leaves this story on a sour note for me. Even though I loved it, I love the romance here, I can't fully give it 5 stars because he ends up cheating on Helena like a couple years after their marriage. I'm just so disappointed in Sebastian because I loved him so much, and I can't see how he could possibly cheat after reading this book. I honestly would recommend reading the series in publication date order. That's usually the way that I like reading series, in publication date order and not necessarily in like numerical order. I say this in this case because hopefully by the time you get to The Promise and a Kiss, like after you've read, you know, the first few books, you'll have forgotten what happened about this couple like I did, and you'll hopefully be able to enjoy this story, this romance for what it is, and not think about what happens after the happily ever after, you know, the marriage vows. I'm still feeling so sad and disappointed in Sebastian right now. Because I loved the romance. Sinister Men, at least the 2 that I've read so far, they're just so hyper-focused and just want everything with their heroine. And Stephanie Lauren's heroines are so strong and they're so cool. I love them. They're not at all intimidated by their heroes, even though they're these powerful, wealthy men. This is also very much a wintry kind of historical romance. Sebastian and Helena met in the winter, they reunite in the winter, and then they get married on Christmas Eve. I thought the ending was so freaking sweet. I adored it. And I'm just gonna pretend that I never remembered what happened in Devil's Bride about this couple, and I'm just gonna be happy about the way things played out and ended. I also decided to read another Stephanie Lauren's book. I started one that Lisa recommended to me. She and I were chatting the other day and she was telling me how much she loved a Stephanie Lauren's novella, and I was like, excuse me, is this the first time you're reading Stephanie Lauren's? And it is. She told me it was a second chance romance, so I instantly perked up. It's called The Fall of Rogue Gerard. This one is a standalone novella. I didn't realize she had another winter romance. This novella was so good. I adored it. I loved our main characters so much, and it was so steamy. I love the steam here, but I just wish it was longer. I wish it could have been a full-length book because I borrowed the ebook from my library and I got about halfway through. It was at 49% and then it ended and I was like, wait, what? I thought it was gonna be longer because apparently the last half of the book is just excerpts from Stephanie Lauren's other books, and I was not happy about that. So it was a lot shorter than I thought it was gonna be, even for a novella, but I still loved it. Ro and Lydia were childhood friends, and then they kind of sort of became childhood sweethearts. They kissed, but Ro got really scared of how he felt about Lydia, so he ran away, and they haven't seen each other in years. But now they reunite at this middle of nowhere inn that they never expected to see each other at. Lydia herself is doing some scheming. She needs to retrieve this scandalous letter that her sister wrote that's now in the hands of this bad guy. Well, not exactly bad guy, just the guy that shouldn't have this letter. So she wants to sneak into his house and get that letter, but Ro is like, no, you're not doing that, and you're definitely not doing that alone, because the guy is kind of unsavory. He hosts these house parties that are basically orgies, and that's what's happening right now at his house. So the two of them now plan to sneak in and get that letter, and it's just so much fun. I love these two. And Ro is pretty much obsessed with Lydia all over again. He is very much determined to try to get her to marry him this time. He knows what an amazing woman she is, and he's not about to let her get away the second time. It was a very sweet, very steamy novella. Ro was so swoony. I just love the way that Stephanie Lauren's heroes love their heroines. So my two Stephanie Lauren's books were so great. I'm I'm just a big fan of hers. I'm definitely going to try to continue with her sister series, but just, you know, after this readathon. Up next for me is A Notorious Love by Sabrina Jeffries. This is going to be my first Sabrina Jeffries book. This is book 2 in the Swanlia Spinster series, and I mean, I know I'm reading out of order, but I just really want to get to book 3 after the abduction because that's the one that I'm most interested in. I actually have it with me right here, and as you can tell, it's very wintry. A Notorious Love is kind of a road trip romance. The heroine here, she's trying to find her sister who has run away to elope with a not so great guy. It's pretty much the setup for book 3 because the heroine in book 3, she's the one who's fallen in love with that guy she was supposed to elope with but ended up kidnapping her. I'm not really too much into A Notorious Love, so I don't have that much to say, so I'll update you guys when I end up finishing it. It's Saturday, it's day 6 of the readathon, which means it's almost over, the week is almost up. I've been doing really well, surprisingly. I didn't expect to be able to read as much as I did. The novellas do help, thank God for novellas, but I did end up finishing another book today. I finished A Notorious Love by Sabrina Jeffries. This was my first Sabrina Jeffries book, and it was okay. I'm giving it 3 stars. I wish I could have loved it more because the concept did sound really fun. It's like a road trip romance, lots of forced proximity. Helena and Daniel were okay. They had a bit of an enemies to lovers vibe. They didn't like outright hate each other, but they didn't like each other either. There's a little bit of excitement when it comes to Daniel's past. He is not exactly the guy that she thought he was. He has a darker past than she thought. And then of course the whole sister thing, she goes to elope, but it turns out that she's actually been kidnapped by a guy, and there's like a whole operation thing going on with that. But I just didn't love the romance here. I never really fell in love with their main characters. The second half of the book kind of dragged a bit. I wasn't as invested as I was in the beginning, but I will admit I did mainly just read this one so that I could get to book 3 after the abduction, which is about that sister who went off to elope and ended up being kidnapped. We do get a little bit of her in the second book. We get like a few chapters in her point of view about what's going on with her, who her kidnapper is, and so I finally was able to start after the abduction, and it is okay so far. I'm liking it, but I'm not, you know, in love with it. Juliet is still in love with her kidnapper, who is a man named Morgan, but it turns out that Morgan is actually not Morgan. He is his twin brother, Sebastian, who is a lord, and Juliet goes to him because she wants answers. She wants to know why he pretended to be his twin brother and why he kidnapped her, but he's still pretending that he is not the man that kidnapped her. He is not his brother. It gets pretty convoluted, but at least it does make sense if you end up reading it, but it's okay so far. I do like your main characters, and the couple from book 1 is showing up a lot here. Not the previous couple, but the other couple that I never read about. So I'm wondering if I should have instead just read book 1 instead of book 2, but it's fine. And here's another look at the gorgeous back cover. But that is my current read in audio, and I've also decided to finally finish up Mackenzie Clan Christmas by Jennifer Ashley. I'm gonna read the second novella in this book. It's a Mackenzie Clan gathering. It's a little longer than the first novella actually. It's a little longer than a Mackenzie Yuletide, so hopefully I'll be able to finish it. The Mackenzies are all back together to celebrate Hart's birthday, but then right before his birthday, some thieves come in to kill Morgan Castle. They end up stealing a lot of rare, expensive pieces of art, like paintings from Mac, paintings from other people, some sculptures, and everyone is trying to figure out who did it and try to get to the bottom of it and hopefully recover those pieces of art. But I am liking it here. I do love that we're mostly focusing on Ian here. We do get a little bit of Hart too, but I don't really care too much about Hart. He was my least favorite Mackenzie. So this one is what I'm going to be focusing on and trying to finish by tomorrow. Had to go chase down this dude because he's been barking so much. Hey, man. Welcome to day 7. It's the last day of the vlog. I'm actually filming this right before our live show on my channel to celebrate the end of Historical Romance Readathon, but I did manage to finish a book. I finished my last full-length book, which is After the Abduction by Sabrina Jeffries. This one I'm giving 3.5 to 4 stars. I liked it more than book 2 for sure. It's not like a new favorite or anything, but it was pretty enjoyable. I like the concept of it. I like the whole mistaken identity with twins jenkins thing. I like the whole her being in love with her kidnapper, though I will say it's not quite as dark as it was made out to be, like a heroine being in love with her kidnapper. It's nothing dark like that. It's mostly the hero pretty much gaslighting the heroine. He's like, I'm not the one who kidnapped you, even though he was, and she's like, I don't believe you, I know you're him. And then because Sebastian is a lord, he does need to marry eventually, and he decides, you know what, Juliet would actually make a really great wife because I actually want her. Things do get messy here, but it was still really entertaining. I did like her main characters. I especially really enjoyed Juliet's character. So overall, I did like this one. I enjoyed it. It's my favorite Sabrina Jeffries book so far, and I do eventually want to go back and read book 1 in the series because that couple was featured a lot in this 3rd book. I also am still reading A Mackenzie Clan Gathering by Jennifer Ashley. I didn't manage to finish it in time, hopefully by the end of the day, but if not, that's okay too. I also completely forgot to mention that I tried to read our group read, which was Lady Sophie's A Christmas Wish by Grace Burrows, but I had to DNF that one. I think I was about 3 or 4 hours into the audiobook, but I was not interested at all. It was just endless baby and diaper stuff that I was just so bored with. The main characters in that one, and they find this abandoned baby and they end up taking care of it while they're stuck in a snowstorm together, and it was just so boring because of the baby stuff. I don't know if Grace had just had a baby or something while she was writing that book, but it just got to be too much, so I gave up on it like a lot of other people did. But I'm still feeling really sad that we chose a not so great book for our group read. But the rest of my readathon was still really good. I managed to finish 7.5 novellas and 4 full-length books. I am more than happy with that. My favorites, I would say, are A Wallflower Christmas by Lisa Kleypas and The Promise and a Kiss by Stephanie Lawrence, though Captured by Beverly Jenkins and The Fall of Rogue Gerard by Stephanie Lawrence were also really, really good. And a big thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this vlog. I'm currently wearing them right now. The double hoops. Don't forget that they're having a buy one get one 60% off sale right now for the holidays, so link is in my description to check them out. And a big thank you to everyone who joined us for this round of Historical Romance Readathon. As always, all the books that I mentioned will be down in the description below. Let me know what you read this week if you joined us on the readathon. Let me know if you have any favorites, new favorite historical romances. Hopefully you found some good books to read, some new authors to read. I personally am just more in love with Stephanie Lawrence now, and I am very determined to read more of her sister series. But yeah, that is it. Links to everything will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!